Hey guys, if you struggle with tilting, giving up, pessimism, or any other aspect of a negative or weak mentality in Valorant, you will greatly benefit from my new mentality course on Patreon. You can find that link in the top description below. I cover all of those topics of mentality and much more. It's about a 2-hour video. Enjoy this video and see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some in-depth Neon tips. Neon, in my opinion, is an extremely good duelist when in the right hands. If you're not comfortable with her first two abilities that will be at the front of this video, then it's going to be much harder for you to really kind of play Neon at the highest of levels, and you're going to struggle to kind of actually reach her maximum potential. And those two abilities are going to be her sprint and her slide, right? So if you don't have those, if you don't understand kind of the best way you can use those, then it's going to be much harder for you. And those are going to be here at the beginning. So first tip is going to have to do with her sprint, right? So really just my main tip for you is just get comfortable. Realize what all you can do with the sprint. You can do a lot. It's really cool. Get comfortable with the movement. If you're not comfortable with the movement, I can just kind of make sure you're jumping around. If you're just running, obviously, in my opinion, if you're just running, you're kind of just wasting her sprint a little bit. Yes, you have a little bit of a movement speed boost, but you're not, you're still kind of easy to hit, right? Yeah, you're going a little bit faster, but your movement's still kind of predictable. So you really want to kind of like jump around. You can, B-hop. You can do some backwards B-hopping if you're able to, right? Forwards B-hopping. You can just jump around, jump on top of things. Unfortunately, I don't have unlimited stamina here or unlimited energy, but just get comfortable with her sprint. That's really my first tip for you guys. Also, whenever you sprint, you will have the ability to slide, which we'll talk about here next. And so the benefit to her sprint really is that it makes you much harder to move. Or much harder to hit by enemies. And so if you're really thinking about what it's like to deal with an enemy Neon, it's really hard for most people to actually hit you and to eventually kill you, right? So that's really in my opinion, the upside of this ability. But you also of course move a little bit quicker. It makes rotating really nice. It makes entering quite nice when you combine it with the slide, which again we will talk about here next. And you can also combine this with other abilities. So anyways, let's move on. All right, guys, moving on to Neon Slide. In my opinion, Neon Slide is like the bread and butter of her entire kit. With Slide, it needs to be combined with her Sprint. You cannot use it without Sprint. You need momentum, and we'll talk about that in a second. One thing I do want to mention that's pretty basic before we get continuing is make sure that whenever you're ready to slide or whenever you're ready to sprint in somewhere, you don't have your knife out, because whatever you have out before you sprint and slide is what you're going to pull out. So if you're planning on taking a fight, like say inside, I'm going to entry or I'm pushing Snowman or something, if you have your knife out, that's not going to be good. So make you have your gun out, slide, and then you're ready to take a fight. Continuing, like I said, you need forward or side momentum in order to slide. So you can slide to the left, a slide to the right, and then you can slide forward. You can also slide backwards. So if you want to slide backwards, you just hit this and then let go of W and hit S, right? And then slide. So it's actually kind of hard to do, but once you kind of get it down, it's not that hard. So you have sprint, you hold W, you let go of W, hit S, and then just slide. So the backwards slide is going to be a little bit more niche, but basically it's really good if you're kind of like sprinting, you see someone somewhere, and then you just slide backwards to quickly kind of like recover, dodge, or just kind of basically to get safe again. Because especially when you're on Icebox, you're running past something like this, you see someone here, you want to come back. It's pretty good, I think. So you can do that. You can do a lot of outplays with the backwards slide, in my opinion. But what are some good uses for just kind of like her normal forward and sideways slides? So in my opinion, the best ways you can use her slides is either for entering, dodging, or simply outplaying opponents. Obviously, entering can be very good. Let's say we want to slide like right here. We don't know if there's someone mid, so we just kind of slide like this. Make sure actually you're sliding into cover maybe. This is a really good slide. It gives you this kind of whole cubby to work with, and you also get to see who's toward mid in the whole process here, right? You can also do it to simply just kind of outplay opponents. You can literally do whatever you want. Combined slide, you can do a slide as you kind of land from your jump in whatever direction you want. And this is what you'll see a lot of higher ranked Neon players do around of energy, but you can slide, you could jump around, slide as you land, and really just take fights wherever you want. It's pretty broken, it's pretty OP, and in my opinion, Neon is one of the most underrated duelists. So keep that in mind, and let's continue. Okay guys, now we're going to be talking about Neon's Wall, and Neon's Wall is an ability that throws out basically two Phoenix walls that I believe does not damage teammates anymore. I think it used to, but they give it a little buff. And so this is kind of what it looks like. And I wanted to use this area specifically because it's so good to kind of just show you the power of this ability. This ability isn't really anything super crazy, but it is nice to kind of provide you with some cover, especially, you know, when you want to kind of like come in, you can kind of run up inside of it and then swing through like this, you know, clear out everything out. Or you can kind of put the wall up and just kind of like peek around it. You see there's like a little gap here. You can do things like this. You can throw the wall however you want, obviously. And this really allows you to kind of pick your fights. If people want to fight you inside of this, then you can kind of watch for that. Or you can kind of just throw the wall as a simple like decoy. You can throw this literally also just to, you know, block vision, to slow them down, to make the enemies kind of scared to push in. Because especially in lower ranks, if you throw a wall up like that, a lot of people are not going to push into it. Maybe duelists will, but most other people are kind of going to be scared to push in. So you can use it like that. But I would highly recommend using it. Let's go to attack actually. So if we're attacking here, right, we can throw the wall up. And, you know, like I said, we can hold like this, or you can just kind of run up around the wall and then kind of slide through it. Use the wall as cover, because typically if you're running up without a wall here, right, if we're running up, we have to worry about all of this, right? All these spots where people can see us. But if we throw the wall up, we don't have to worry about that, and we can just like run up safely and then slide through the wall or take fights however we want around the wall. And that is really how I would suggest. This is literally just like a lane for you to just get to here or wherever you want. Like if you want to stop in Snowman, that's perfect. If you want to stop here, that's fine. If you want to stop here, that's fine. It's just really useful for like opening up opportunities for you with your slide, with your sprint, with your guns, whatever you want to do. And, you know, overall, it's just a pretty good ability. And, you know, you can also combine this with teammates' abilities, or you can like be like, yo team, I'm gonna wall here. Typically this is just a good ability for you to play around with and for you to kind of like slow enemies down with as well. You know, let's go to another area and we can really kind of emphasize how this might work. Let's say we're defending on A, right? So like I said, this wall can be used to slow down enemies. So let's say they're coming in over here, you know, like this, and you can just wall like this. Sometimes they're gonna run through, and then you can come over here, you know, take your fights here, see if they're gonna come back or something. Or you could just throw the wall, literally run up, and then slide through, right? Clear everything, you know, play around it like that. Just kind of get a feel for, you know, what you want to do with it, your favorite ways to use it. But I would highly recommend either for entrying, defending, you know, slowing down enemies, and really, especially combining it with your slide, with your sprint, and, you know, seeing how it works. So, all right, moving on to the next step. All right, guys, now we're going to be talking about Neon's ult, and Neon's ult actually recently got a buff. Her ult now does 3 times damage to heads, and so if you're ulting, now this gives you, you know, some more skill ceiling to work with. Before, I feel like her ult actually took quite a while to kill people, especially if you don't have good movement, or if you're not sliding, or, you know, using your abilities well. I feel like it was kind of an uphill battle to kill people, and a lot of times you would try to kill them, but you just get like headshot because it takes so long. But now if you can hit their heads, you almost instantly delete them, and this is really good. A couple other things worth noting: when you ult, you actually recharge all of your energy. So you see, if I run around here for a second, I get it down to about half. Then I ult, you're gonna see my energy goes all the way back up to 100, right? Which is really nice. Another thing about when you ult is you automatically start sprinting, and you pull your fingers right here. This is obviously your ult. Your ult doesn't seem to have a range. I was testing it. You can literally aim this high, and it's gonna damage like whatever you're aiming at. And like I said, you're running. You can slide in whatever direction you want, and you can slide and shoot while you're doing this, which is obviously very nice. Overall, I would highly suggest making sure that you have good movement. You can run around, jump around, you know, slide, throw your wall, and stun. We'll talk about the stun here last in just a second. But if you're just going to run in without any good movement, it's going to be much harder for you to consistently get kills. You're also very loud when you stomp, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of part of her ult to stomp around whenever you use it. So whenever you're entrying with it, I would kind of think of it as Reyna ult. It's basically the same thing, right? Whenever you pop it, you're on a time gate to use it. So if you're popping your ult and you don't go in, it's, you know, it's kind of a waste, obviously. It's really, whenever you ult, it's time to go in. It's time to entry. It's time to have some confidence. Time to look for some kills. Let your team know, like, guys, I'm popping my ult and I'm just running down A here. Can you guys follow me, please? Say something like that, right? You know, and then essentially just, you know, come in, right? You know? And, you know, aim for the head, obviously, now, since that's a nice damage boost. And with good aim, this ult's pretty scary, honestly. Also, every kill you get is going to reset your energy, which is very nice. And, yeah, you could just get an ace with this pretty easily if you have good aim. But, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the last ability. All right, guys, for Neon's last ability, we have Stun. And Stun's actually, honestly, one of the harder abilities I feel like to use for Neon. It's kind of difficult to kind of know where it's going to bounce to. If you can get the first stun good, then you're pretty good off. But here's what a really good stun might look like. If you think there's someone like behind this box or something, this A stun like this is really good. One thing I will say is whenever you use this stun, be very cautious of stunning your teammates, because if you're like, oh, I'm going to stun back here, and then you do this, you know, this can easily stun your teammates, and you can easily do this quite often. I think this ability is actually kind of not the greatest for that reason. I think it's really good if you can get, again, the first stun on them. And, you know, I think if you get the second stun in a good spot, that's even better. But I feel like most Neon players don't really think about that. I feel like most good Neon players might have some really good spots for that, but I feel like most scenarios, if you can just stun, like, get the first stun in a good spot, then you're pretty good. I also think that the stun will, as you can see, it's like a big kind of cylinder. So, see, this actually stuns quite a big area. So as long as you get the enemy in the radius, it's going to stun inside. It's going to stun them, right? Other than that, nothing else to it. You know, make sure that you can also use that while you're sliding, while you're ulting, and you can go in with it. It makes enemies, it's just like a breach stun. You know, it slows their shooting rate. It kind of makes it harder for them to see, and that lasts for a couple of seconds. And yeah, so make sure that you're using this. Make sure you're experimenting with it. Make sure you don't hit your teammates, at least not an accident anyway. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.